Hello, viewers. Today, I want to share with you a video I made a few months ago in December. I made this video for Cultures Group. They for their 2020 Zeems series of workshops on fermentation, and that was a great series. So these workshops consisted of both pre-recorded videos and also live presentations and discussions. And it's great opportunity to learn more about fermentation and also to meet other people in the fermentation community from around the world, including people like Sandor Katz, who was on you could be on a Zoom call with Sandor Katz and 20 other people, and learn some more about fermentation. So it was a great thing to participate in, and this video was exclusively part of that series for a while, but now some time has passed and I'm able to share it with my viewers on my YouTube channel. So I'm doing that now. Cultures Group also has a 2021 series, so please check out the link in the description. And again, there are Zoom calls and pre-recorded presentations. So a great resource to get connected with the fermentation community. Just something you should check out if you're interested. And this particular video that I made, it's a different style than my YouTube videos. It is 15 minutes long, and it's as if I'm presenting it live just for that 15 minutes. So minimal editing, a different style. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I wanted to share it with you. So here it is. Hello, I'm Jeff Rubich, and I have a YouTube channel devoted to rustic Asian rice wines. I'd like to thank Cultures Group for inviting me to this event. I appreciate it a lot. And my topic today is you can make NURUK. So I'm going to explain a bit about Asian rice wines and what is NURUK, and I'll show you how I made it, and I'll explain why you can make NURUK too. So this is delicious Korean rice wine. It's called makgeolli. So this is makgeolli. It has a milky texture because it is only roughly filtered and it's consumed fresh. It is very important and meaningful for Korean culture, and it's drinking a cup of makgeolli is like eating a bowl of rice. It's considered to be very fortifying and good for you. So this is makgeolli. This is and I love makgeolli. I've brewed around 100 batches of makgeolli. I like drinking it. I like brewing it, and the ingredients that go into makgeolli are very simple. The recipe is simple and robust, and the ingredients for makgeolli are rice. This is sweet rice, NURUK, and water, and those are the three basic ingredients of makgeolli. Very simple, and I usually add some wine yeast for consistency, but that's optional. And this is what NURUK looks like in the store, and you do need to be able to read NURUK in Korean. It's not that hard, but you need to be able to read it because there's no good English word or phrase that captures what NURUK is. It's a bit complicated, but it is the essential ingredient for making makgeolli. So yeah, as you can see here, it's called fermented wheat. On other packages, it might say enzyme. On another package, it might say yeast. So that's why you have to be able to recognize the Korean word NURUK. So let's bring that up. Yeah. So NURUK. So this is a package that I bought at a supermarket, at a Korean supermarket. It's NURUK, and this is what it looks like before it's broken up into pieces. So it's a solid cake, and you break it up into pieces into powder, and then you can use it. And this is the NURUK that I made. So let's talk about what goes into making NURUK. So these are the ingredients for makgeolli. And actually, the ingredients for NURUK are quite flexible, but NURUK is a mold-based. It's a mold-based fermentation aid. So it contains all the things necessary to ferment rice into alcohol. It contains enzymes, it contains yeast, and it often contains lactic acid bacteria as well. So it's a complex thing. It contains everything you need in one ingredient to convert the rice to sugar, convert the sugar to alcohol, and also to get some lactic acid bacteria to get a bit of sourness as well. So NURUK is formed by growing mold on some base of usually grain, or it could be beans, soybeans, mung beans. But for brewing alcohol, usually it's wheat. And the way I did it, this is just the way I did it. I have to say I made substitutions and approximations. I am not an expert in making NURUK, but if I can make NURUK, then you can too. So this is bulgur wheat, so it's cracked wheat, and some whole wheat flour. I used equal parts of bulgur wheat and whole wheat flour, and I mixed in a small amount of water. Probably, I probably was supposed to use about 20% of the weight of these in water, but I ended up using almost 40%. I wanted it just wet enough to stick together. And I'll make a cake with that and incubate that with this, which is some corn straw. And that's an approximation of, it really would, it would make sense to make NURUK on a bed of rice straw. But some kind of dried plant matter, it actually doesn't have to be the rice straw, some kind of dried plant matter. So I use corn straw. And the corn straw contains the mold spores that will start the mold growing on our wheat cake. So okay, back to the wheat cake. So I add just enough water so it starts sticking together. That's the first step, and the next step is to mold it. And you wrap the rudimentary disc in some cloth, and it's traditional to step on it, and it's also traditional to have a mold. But I didn't have a mold, so I just put it between these two pieces of wood, and I stepped on it. It is traditional to step on it. By compressing it, that makes it stick together, even though it only has a small amount of water. And that's one of the fun parts of this process. So now you have an actual wheat cake. We want to turn this. We want to grow mold on this. So what you need is so you need a source of mold spores. That'll be the corn straw, and you need a consistent temperature. That's probably one of the most important things. If you if you if you don't have a consistent a place that has a consistent temperature, then you have to wait for the right season. You have to do it in the right kind of building. But if you do have like something that you use for koji, you could use it for NURUK as well. 35 degrees Celsius, that's 95 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what I used. I kept the wheat cakes in the middle of the corn straw, and I flipped them every 2 days. And after a day or two, the mold already was growing. So the mold you want to see is mostly the white kind of mold. It should be Aspergillus oryzae, and other kinds of mold are going to be in there, and microbes are going to be in this. It's going to be more complicated than koji, and it's going to take some more time to grow than koji. You're going to let it sporulate, so it's going to turn. You're going to see some green, and that's okay. So I ended up letting the mold grow in my temperature-controlled chamber for 4 weeks, and maybe it didn't have to be that long. I don't know. I'm experimenting and learning. I don't. One thing I am sure of, the way I did it, it's not going to be optimal, but I'll tell you, it did work. So I'm glad for that. So I have the mold growing for 4 weeks. At the end of that time, scrape off the outside of the wheat cake and hang it on a string in the sun to dry. And I let it dry for 2 months in the sun. And that's a long time, but it helps protect it, from insects, and if you had any, it just helps. So you end up not seeing the mold on the surface anymore. You wiped it off, but what you hope happened is that the mold penetrated into the wheat cake. So the texture of the wheat cake, the moisture content is important during this process. You wanted the mold to penetrate inside the wheat cakes, and that's why I made mine relatively thin, because I wasn't too confident about how far the mold would get into the wheat cake. The only disadvantage is that if it's too thin, it'll dry off too quickly, and it'll be hard to grow mold in the first place. Right, so that's what I did, and then at the end of that. Of drying in the sun for 2 months. At the end of that, it's ready to use. I broke it up, and it looked like this. And you can powder it, and then it looks like this, and then you brew with it. And that was the test. Was I successful in making NURUK? And the test was brewing with it, and I experimented with different amounts. And what I could tell was that this NURUK that I made a lot by trying to guess the recipe and the right temperature and timing of everything, sort of feeling my way along. But in the end, this NURUK is stronger than the kind you buy in the supermarket. My homemade one seemed to be, I only needed a quarter as much to have the same effect. And by that, the effect I mean, it would convert the starch in the rice to sugar, and then the yeast could convert that sugar to alcohol. I only needed a quarter the amount of my homemade NURUK compared with the supermarket NURUK. So, so that showed that there is amylase enzyme in my NURUK. It must have had the Aspergillus oryzae or other molds that produce those enzymes, the amylase enzymes that convert starch to sugar. So I was really glad that worked. I've only done it a few times, but yeah. But the point of this is that the concept is simple. As long as you have control over the temperature and humidity, as long as you have a chamber that has that, I think that's the most important prerequisite. If you have that, you'll be able to make your own NURUK. And thank you, thank you for listening to me today. I hope you enjoy the other presenters during this event, and I know I will. And again, thank you for watching.